As you're working on the transfer fork, I want to go over a couple of commands and make sure that you are using the commands that are in Inventor to the best of your ability and making sure you're getting the maximum usage out of the commands. Because everything that we do here, we can continue to sketch and extrude the same way time after time. But there, as you are growing through the information that's presented in chapters 3 and 4, I would hope that you start looking at some of the new commands that are available, or the concepts that are there for you to make your drawing at a higher level than just creating sketches and extrusions. So for example, on this drawing I want to go over creating your sketch for this little half circle right here with the hole through it, and I want to make sure I'm just going to model this for you. So what I'm going to do is just right click on this surface here and start my new sketch. So I'm going to draw a circle and I want to extrude this. So because I already have the constraints here, you can see that that has turned black. I'm going to finish my constraint here and I'm going to go to extrude, and this time when I go to pick this profile, the profile that I'm going to select is just the half of the circle, or the semicircle, instead of the entire circle. So I'm going to change the direction in which I put this on here, and to just kind of show you or give you an example of what I'm looking for is if this one, if you just enter like half of an inch, you know, that's exactly right, but it's not the level that I'm trying to get you to. I want you to make sure that you're using some of the other commands that are there and use the parent-child relationship as you are designing these parts. So I'm going to give you an example of what would happen. So if we do a half of an inch, and that's there and everything's all, you know, fine and dandy, but let's say the design changes for this part and you need to go in and, okay, this part now needs to be, let's say 0.75 instead of 0.5. So we make this change, we update our sketch, and let's do this. Let's take this to 0.5. Let's take it over to the side like that. Finish that, and here we go. So this piece changed right here, and this piece did not go with it. So this is requiring you to have to go back and make another change. So I would have to find the extrusion that I used to create that extrusion. I have to go in here, edit that, make that 0.75, and update that piece. Now, one time, probably not going to make much difference, but if you do this over and over on multiple drawings all day, it does make a difference. So that would be the long way of doing this. Now, if you chose differently, I'm going to back this up just a little bit. So going back to the extrusion, and we extrude this here, changing the direction, but instead of using a dimension and we use the 2 next, and we know that this part is relevant to this face right here, that we didn't have to type in a dimension, it just is prompting us there, but we're saying, hey, I want this profile to be extruded to this face, and that's going to be like a rule set for that geometry. If I go in now, go back to what I did before and make a change to this, let's make this 0.5, and let's make this 0.75. So this is back to what we had before. If I finish that, you can see that this piece changed and updated as we changed the bottom. And that's what I'm looking for you to do. I want you to make sure that you are looking at this geometry and understanding the concepts of like using faces, using some of those higher level methods of drawing that we're covering in chapters 3 and 4. So I'm just going to back that on up because I really don't want to keep that there, and then we're going to move on to the next thing. So the next thing is projecting geometry. So I'm just going to go over here and I want to create my sketch over here on this surface right here. So even I have to get out of, like, I know I can click on a surface and start a new sketch, but sometimes just out of habit I just go up there to the upper left hand corner and do that. So for this one, I want to make sure I'm sketching this this semicircle right here. I want to bring that information forward to this plane because there's no need to redraw that if I already have it drawn. So I'm just going to use the project geometry, and I'm going to point on that surface right there, and that comes forward. And because it brought forward the whole entire sketch profile there, I'm just going to draw myself a line and finish the sketch, extrude it, and so I can now get the back of that. So I'm going to change the direction, and I'm going to go to the face over here. So I'm going to, it's prompting me, when I click on this button here, it's prompting me to select the face in which I want that extrusion to move to. And oh, let me get out of orbit. That's what I was, all right, that was still in orbit. So I selected 2, I picked the face, and now that part is extruded. So the next thing I'm going to do is the hole command. So back to using the hole command, picking the edge, and looking for the concentric this concentric circle icon pop up. When you see that pop up there, you can click on that, and it's going to locate that hole to the shared center point of your existing circle. So I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to make sure I get the dimensions set up. So we've got a 1/2 inch, and I want to go through all because I always will have a hole all the way through this entire part, and no matter what dimension changes right here, that hole is going to always go through. So if I use a distance, so for example 1.75, then if this piece lengthened or the width increased, then I would have to go back and edit that hole. So keeping the through all, that gives me the hole all the way through, and that's what I'm going to be looking for. So I hope a couple, oh, and while I'm here, I might as well go ahead and go over the fillet command. The fillet command, I could have drawn a circle and used the fillet command when I was sketching this, but I wanted to just go back over the fillet command in case you had missed that from a previous video. So the fillet command right here allows you to specify like a particular joint where 2 surfaces intersect, and you can specify the radius, and that fillet will be created. So for this one, I'm going to click on radius, and then I'm going to update the radius to 1. And now I'm going to click over here on the edges. So I'm going to select the edges that I want to update to the 1-inch radius. So as I go through and pick those radiuses will select. If I pick something that I didn't mean to, all you have to do is hit the shift button and pick that edge again, and it will remove it from the selection. Hit apply, and I'm going to close out of that, and that fillet will be located right here on your model browser, and you can always go back in and modify that if you need to. It's another double click, and you can get in there and change that radius to whatever you need. It will update. So there's 1.25, 0.75. You can see what it looks like. So if you're designing and you want to see what the part looks like, there you go. So hopefully those couple things help you as you are taking your inventor drawings to the next level.